Call the meeting to order. Today is again. Good to go? Okay. Call the meeting to order. Today is Tuesday, March 5th. It is 6:03 PM. Town Council meeting, Town Council Chambers, 1170 Main Street.
Roll call. Oh, did
Nope.
you want to do prayer?
Prayer?
Sorry.
Heavenly Father, we come to you today asking for your guidance, wisdom, and support as we begin this meeting. Help us engage in a meaningful discussion, allow us to grow closer as a group, and nurture the bonds of community. Amen.
Lisa, lead us in the pledge, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all.
Roll call. Councilman Dennison,
Here.
Councilman Lichardi,
Here.
Councilman Messier,
Here.
Council Vice President Williamson.
Here.
Noted for the record that President Goslin is absent. Quorum is declared. Consent agenda, cancellation of the taxes in the amount of $313.31 as requested by the tax assessor.
Entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion.
Second.
All in
Sorry.
favor?
Throw off. I was waiting for you to make the motion.
Yeah, I know. Sorry.
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it.
Ordinances, amendment of the zoning ordinance to address recent housing legislation continued.
So it is my understanding that we are going to continue this until April 3rd,
Beginning of April, right? First meeting in April.
April 3rd, I believe. And
me
because
just-
it is not the second, because that's primary day.
It is on the 3rd, but let me just double check with Al real quick, on that date. The, vendor just received word today, or we just received,
Okay.
received word today that our online ordinances are up to date, so she can do what she needs to do to update the zoning legislation.
Al
So-
said he would be on. Is he on?
I'm on.
Al, would you like to go to the second meeting instead?
Yes, the second meeting because we have to go to planning, which is meeting the second Monday. Has to go to planning before I can come to you.
Just to clarify, so I can update my calendar. So the meeting that month is not on it's on the Wednesday and not the Tuesday.
That's correct.
It is.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, so the second,
No, yeah,
Oh,
I'm sorry.
yes,
Just,
yes.
So, when someone makes that motion, if they could just motion to continue it to April 23rd.
no, because that's vacation week, so it'll, the 23rd, correct?
Yes.
So I make a motion to continue this ordinance, to the April 23rd town council meeting.
Is there a second?
second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Thank you.
Thank you, Al.
Thanks, Al.
Business licenses, request from Caitlin Spaziano for a breeder's license and renewal of the kennel licenses.
Move the licenses.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? Anyone from the audience?
Just to let everyone know that Camp Bow Wow is delinquent on their taxes, so until they get current, they won't get their license. And Paula already knows. I just wanted you to know.
Okay. And that's the case with any of
Any
these, that's
license,
correct?
yeah.
Yes.
Not allowed to issue until we have sign-offs from various departments.
So there's been a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it.
Madam Vice President, if I may.
Yes.
Make sure that the technical amendment of Spazian becomes Spaziano.
I will,
Thanks.
absolutely. All right, appointments and resignations. Request from Danielle Monroe for appointment to the Recreation Committee for term ending February 1st, 2027.
move the name of Danielle Monroe for the Recreation Committee.
It's a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Any discussion?
We want people in the community to help out. Which is a great thing, but when you're placed on a board or a committee, what I'm looking for in the application that's in front of us, this is for recreation. There should be some type of tie to recreation. I have no idea who Danielle Monroe is, and I don't need to. I'm looking at this. She has a strong background in the medical field, which if we had a medical board, that would be perfect. Or I would feel the same way if we had a recreation person, a parks person, be applying for a medical board. It just doesn't fit. And I kind of went that route with many different boards. If you're a doctor, that's great, and you want to be on the planning board, you know, I'd have reservations. And I don't think some of this is, we want somebody to come with different things. We want somebody to come in with education regarding that position. So
Does
I'm,
anyone know Danielle? I do not know Danielle, and is she a parent? That might be her connection to wanting to be involved.
but that's a good thing, but that's something, you know, you really don't want to turn this into, no matter how I say this, it's gonna come out
No.
like I'm a jerk, all right? So I realize that. But, you know, you don't really want to turn something, you want to, it has to be a fit. To me, it has to be a fit. You know, when we hired for the town manager, we had all these resumes in front of us. You know, we don't want to put, you know, I'm not knocking a Walmart worker, but when you have the third shift supervisor at Walmart putting in to be the town manager, you know, might be the grade of his position or her position, but it wouldn't be the best fit to serve in that position. So,
I'd like to speak to her first. Maybe could we potentially at least table this to the next meeting? I'd at least like to reach out to her before
that's
I
up
say,
to
before I
you,
say no, I'd
but-
like to.
But
at
I'm
least-
not, I mean, and I'm, there's not enough for me to say yes on,
Yeah,
on any, on
If I
this.
may, you've already got a motion
Yep.
and a second. If you're going to now consider tabling it, you've got to reverse all what you just did.
So can we
I'm-
amend? You can't amend it, you actually rescind it?
Right, you'd have to rescind what you just did and start all over. So if you want to table it and let everybody have the opportunity to speak to Ms. Monroe about her credentials, my suggestion
make a-
would be that you
Make a motion to
withdraw.
take my
But wait,
movement
wait a
off.
minute, I think the person who's coming here, and I feel this way for a long time, they're applying for a position here. They should, and we have the opportunity to come on by phone, by Zoom. They should be coming to us. I'm not gonna call anybody. Yeah, I don't think that's our job.
She's not online, she.
You know,
I-
and
I
and if
have
she
no
is
idea.
great, so, you know, say something, but I think that the onus is on this application. So I'm gonna vote no. So we have a vote on the table, I'm gonna vote no.
So there was a motion and there was a second. There's been some discussion. All in favor? Opposed?
I'm opposed.
I'm gonna abstain because I'd like to speak to her, but,
Well,
I know that-
No, so you just want to take it off the table.
all right,
You
I'm gonna,
wanna
I'm gonna
take
make a motion to
No,
take,
no, so we got to do this. So how are you going to vote?
I'm gonna abstain from voting. I don't want to say yes or no, so I'm gonna abstain from the vote.
Okay.
I
So,
don't want to say yes or no until I know more information
all
about
right,
it.
so you've got
Two
two
noes.
noes
I
and
will,
an
I will,
abstention.
yes.
And so it dies tonight. If she
Correct.
wants to reapply, she'd have to reapply. So
Okay.
this application will now be dead and gone.
And she has the opportunity to
Right, to
reapply with
reapply.
a
Maybe
different.
if you could pass
maybe
along
there's
that,
things that
if she
are
could
not
reach
on
out to the
here.
council.
I just
Sarah.
wanted to, I don't know Danielle. I've never met her. I've only emailed with her. She's a new member of the community, just moved to the community and she was looking to get involved. So she had asked for a list of our vacancies, which I furnished her with, and that's how this application came.
Yeah,
to me.
if you just pass along the information, if she reaches out to us, I have no problem reconsidering. I'd just at least like to speak to her. I mean, I think Jay made some good points. I'd like to at least speak to her and
So at this point, it's a no, 3-0 no with an abstention.
don't discourage her if she wants to be,
No.
there's plenty of boards and there's plenty
That's
of.
right,
And, but. you
but
know,
according
maybe-
to this, it's
and
not. it's
especially if
not a
she's new to
fit
the
at all.
community, she might not realize the protocol to reach out to us and.
All right, new business, resolution supporting the continuation of RIPTA service in the town of West Warwick.
Someone move the
I
resolution.
move the resolution.
Second resolution.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion about it? Mark, this
At our last meeting, there
Yes.
was a lot of discussion as well as two public hearings sponsored by RIPTA. And I was tasked with coming up with a resolution to submit to our state legislators to ask them to further our desires. So again, this was just a quick draft that I put together. I think it covered the main points, but if there's any questions, comments, concerns, any language to add, it's a draft form. We can amend it and submit it.
Do you know through your work with the League of Cities and Towns whether others have done similar things?
I think Sarah helped me with a quick email to her colleagues and clerks, and no one else had at that time,
Okay. All right.
at the end of last week, and I also asked our Representative Norray, and he hadn't heard anything either,
And he's comfortable with this?
but was willing to take it forward upon receipt.
Okay. That being the case, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it.
Right. Resolution naming Veterans Square.
Move the resolution.
Second resolution.
Moved and seconded. Mark,
The Cliff Note version is, although I've known this as Veterans Square as long as I could think about it, Representative Norray had attempted to find some type of state documentation, since it is all within state roads, on something that formally dedicated or named it Veterans Square. And he called and asked if I could find anything from the town's perspective, and I could not either. So he's looking to do something with the state to have it, the proclamation made, order proper signage, and whatever else he can come up with an event. So I told him that I would start with a local resolution to get that done and forward it to him so he can carry that on the state as well. I know I submitted, when I sent the draft to you all, a local historian had supplied a lot of information. So I just submitted that for your review, and Representative Norrie can use it for his efforts as well.
I think we've all known it as Veteran Square.
Yeah.
I mean, it used
Veteran Square Nine.
Dino, that's exactly right. Yeah. They had a good softball team too, yes. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it.
Discussion of Recreation Committee membership and functions.
So I put this on the agenda,
Yes.
and basically due to recent activity that we've had a number of people, with 5 people on the committee and 3 people just resigned. So I put it on basically to say, do we want this? What are the functions? Actually, do we have 2 members left, Sarah?
I believe so.
And appointing someone, so somebody applies for this position, you know, who has a recreational background or has coached for 20 years or something like that, and applies. I'd like to just say, what are you applying for? Because I think we're all in flux kind of what this committee was, I think, intended for when it first was. John Flynn set this up back 20 years ago. And I only knew it as one way of, it was an advisory board
Mhm.
to the recreation director at the time, we had a full-time rec director. And that, when, I don't know what happened as far as up here with the town, but it went to, full-time person was gone, and the tax assessor took over, Ray Beatty, as, you know, assumed recreation duties, and he had this board. And we would meet once a month. Typically, we were planning to meet once a month. And then if there's nothing to meet on, then it would be, all right, there's nothing here, let's meet next month. But you always plan to meet the once a month. And it was mostly project-based. Because again, we're dealing with somebody who is, you know, he's getting I wouldn't even say part-time, he was handling the recreation business. So obviously, he's not gonna do full-time duties. So basically, it was parks. And the biggest thing we did was River Point Park, which took a long time, took years and years to build. But there were other things that went on as well. And then all of a sudden, Ray retired. And it kind of died down a little bit. We had some members that, you know, passed away, and it became a challenge. And then since I've been on the council, it was, you know, we don't have a committee and we don't have any members. And there's really never been a push. And then we finally had a committee, And I think things got, and we were on the council with, the three of us were on the council for that.
Yeah.
I think that the functions were, between, Jeff coming on as the director of DPW and doing recreation duties and new council and new management. I think everything just kind of was like, all right, what are the functions? So I would like to say, before we appoint anybody, let's stabilize what we have and what these people should be doing.
Jason, can you tell me what your role was? I agree with you, it's advisory in nature, and that's what it
Yeah.
would be, but what did you do back then when?
So when this came up, I mean, we got a call and we're planning this, we have a grant for River Point Park.
Mhm.
And that was the main thing that we did. We talked about, the initial meetings were what what properties are in town for parks? What is the goal? And this is when we had the rec director.
Mhm.
And so it was like, what do you want us to do? And then all of a sudden, this park fell in our lap. So it was basically us sitting around this table and an engineer came up, in front of us with plans. Actually, three engineers. We reviewed all the plans. I'm not an engineer. I'm a recreation guy. I'm not an engineer at all. So we were all looking at the plans. We all shared different ideas. We all had a similar background. And then it went before Ray to say, all right, this is what we're thinking of. What do you think? Bids came in. We reviewed the bids. We were the one that said, all right, we want to go with this bid. We think this is the company. This is why. And then Ray would bring that to the council. And basically, at the time, it was, I went through 3 different council people that would be as a liaison, but they would be able to share that knowledge with the council as well. And that's my role right now.
Right.
It's not a decision-making. It's basically to be that go-between.
Mhm.
And that took a long time. That took many months. There were issues with leagues, which all the league presidents are out, for their league, which they should be, to advocate for their league. And that would come before the rec board as well. We talked, everything we've just done, we talked about fees. If there were issues with parks, I know Natick was a problem at one point. And that was kind of it. I mean, we never really met 12 times a year. There wasn't a need for it. But, when there's not a project, it should be once a quarter. But when there is a project, again, like River Point, like Crompton right now, Crompton's done. There's really no need, but it's not, when we had the, Factory Street Playground,
Yeah.
that came to the rec board. The problem with that was you don't have a quorum. It needed to get done. So, all right, we can't wait for these people to meet. We have to make decisions. And that's what happened when all that took place. So do I think there's a need for it? Yes, if it's done in the right way.
So there's a resolution that's attached to the agenda, Resolution 2021-149,
Mhm.
which is what established or reestablished a couple of years ago. Can't believe it's a couple of years ago, but what and it makes it clear it's an advisory committee and what the duties are. What else how else, so that's on paper. Maybe in practice, it didn't work that way. So what do you suggest the next step is?
I think there has to be, we have to figure out exactly, to me, it's just exactly what I said. It's an advisory committee that has meetings with the recreation director. And at that point, Jeff would come in front of us and he would have his part in giving us a synopsis of this is what's going on since the last meeting. We're not operational or anything like that, but these are the issues that have come before us. What do you think? Or we just wrote a grant for, say Crompton Playground. We're
Yep.
getting this grant for $400,000. What are your ideas? We're putting a bid out. Bids come in. We all see the bids. Well, committee sees the bids. They have their input in it. Not the final say, because we have a recreation director.
Yep.
But again, you're looking at 5 different minds coming forward, more than just picking out colors. And that's based on knowledge and it's based on background. And that's why tonight, what I said with this application, I don't see that from this application being a fit for this committee. So,
So I can say that, since I've been on the council since December, and even prior to that, coming to the meetings, I've seen so much movement on and off this committee, on this board, and I still don't know how it's supposed to function. And that's why I voted no on Miss Monroe's application tonight, because I don't know what they are attempting to do. I just know that some people are upset and have left, and I know some others want to get on, and I don't know if we have tasks to give them. And when I say we, I don't mean we up here, but maybe Jeff, do you have some information that you could share with us about your vision for this board?
I mean, I think some of the things I've heard, so I assume in your previous experience, Ray Beatty would put an agenda together.
The agenda was put together from the director and the chairperson. So when I was chairperson, Ray would call me up and say, all right, I have a couple of things for an agenda. Do you have anything to add?
Okay.
You know, and I would chime in or no, you know, or meeting is set for whatever. We didn't have a meeting, you know, like the second Tuesday of every month or something. It was kind of like, when can we all get together and meet?
Right.
You know, so, but that agenda was part of that. And of course, we always went off the agenda, you know. Well, it was
Easy,
in the
Jeff.
past.
Yeah.
But it was open to the public.
Statute of
Not many
limitations
from the
on that.
public came. It wasn't a gripe session, you know, so. But
I think we just want to see, whatever this board is, it needs to be efficient, and it needs to do the work that needs to be done. And maybe, again,
You can tell us what work needs to be done, and maybe we have conflicting.
What are your
opinions on
thoughts on
that.
it? You're
Yeah.
you're the
What,
director.
And
what-
I
what-
actually like Mark's thoughts
What
too.
Jay said was completely correct. It's an advisory committee. I believe it will work if it's done the correct way. There was a misconception with some of the people on what the board was who were on the board. And that was the problem. One of the big ticket items that we discussed was the flat top playground. You guys, if you remember correctly, had asked me to get with the people from the rec committee and pick out colors, pick out styles, so on and so forth. Set a meeting up for it. Everybody that was on the committee said they would come. Myself and Derek Reed sat out in that parking lot for 2 hours and nobody showed up. I can't, I don't want to sound selfish, but wasting my time is not.
agreed.
So we did it. It's actually, while we're on the subject, it's being started next week. Being installed.
Right.
But I have no problem working with the rec committee. I encourage it. But there are some months where there's nothing going on. I mean, there's this big projects aren't there. I would like to bring them in on certain things, but they have to know what, you know, when I ask them to do something or I ask them to help me with something, they gotta be willing to do it, whoever's on the committee, right? You know, I'm not gonna chase you. I don't wanna have to chase you.
You said that you had
Yeah.
trouble getting quorums.
Right, I wanna, right, and I get it, some people have lives, I completely understand that. And it's a volunteer committee and I respect that, but if we're gonna meet, then we have to meet.
If you're gonna put your name forward, then you should.
Right.
But we addressed that though, when we spoke about that, I don't know, a year ago, we set a meeting. It's in here. We set a meeting day. So everybody would know when that day was. Correct?
Yeah.
Unless
No,
some-
I don't think, oh, we shouldn't have. It should have
No,
been like
no, we did it.
Meeting was established, and then the members of the committee,
decided.
for whatever
Right.
reason, chose not to attend. Then there wasn't a quorum, no
Right.
quorum, no business could be done.
Right.
Correct?
Yeah, that's correct.
So one of the issues I think that the councilman's brought forth before is that if you want to get on the recreation committee, you have to understand what is entailed and what you have to do. And one of the items isn't just selected, absenteeism, I'm not going to go tonight. Because again, under the charter, if a member of a board does miss a committee meeting consecutive times, then it's up to the board to bring that name to the town council to remove them, which is kind of draconian this day and age because you're looking for people to volunteer. So it's kind of a, excuse me, a double-edged sword. But as Jeff has said, if you look at seasonal from fall, winter, spring, summer, all the leagues, playgrounds, the jurisdiction and the authority over, you know, playgrounds, fields. There's no bylaws, there's no policies and procedures, so there's a lot of things that could be put together. And when someone applies for this position, number one would be come before the council, so when they apply, they know that the night their application is before the council, they should be here in order to answer questions, kind of like an interview. And then if they are willing to accept what's expected of them regarding the time, coming to meetings, then you can appoint them. But a lot of people want to get on board just to put their names out there that says, I'm on a board, and then they never go to the meetings.
I
One of the
understood
thing-
that
I'm sorry.
bylaws were created.
So,
They-
so bylaws were done, I think, the first few meetings.
Matter of fact, I just mentioned that as
Oh,
part
yeah,
of a
okay.
list of
Yeah,
things
but I
that the
think-
committee.
I thought that did happen, but
There were, and I don't mean to speak, but there was a misconception. And I'm just, that there was a
so
misconception.
this is not an operational, this is not,
The way I see this board being set up is, again, as advisory committee, helping me with certain things that I, asked them to help me with. For instance, the summer concerts, helping us set up stuff for that. When we had the event of the pie in the face and all that stuff, setting us up with, helping us set up with that, maybe helping us set up vendors, food, and donations, whatever the case may be. And helping us if I, for instance, I want to bring something to town, and I say, I want to bring this to town, but we need to find a location for it. Let's get together and see if we can find a location
so
for
it's
it.
not all about building playgrounds and
No,
parks and
absolutely
that's,
not.
and maybe that needs to be made
Scheduling
clear.
events.
Well,
I think that's
An
an,
event planner might be a good person to have on there,
Right,
I
we've
guess.
never had that though.
Okay,
That's why. It's,
All right.
there's never been
I
any,
mean that like, that some qualifications, while you want them to have, some to have recreation, it may help to have somebody that has like
Well,
planning and
Event
different kinds of
just for
experience. Yeah.
historical purposes, the last full-time recreation director was Warren Renshausen from probably 2000. And once he left, then it became a part-time position with Ray Beatty. Then when Ray retired, then it started bouncing back and forth between Parks and Recs, DPW. There's never been a full-time rec
Right.
director after Warren Renshausen.
Hey, listen, if you want to pay me for both, I won't yell at you.
It's not-
When you're
it's not-
talking
it's not-
events-
It's not up to me,
No,
but
I'm just kidding,
when
I'm
you're
just kidding.
talking about what happens, just imagine you're the director of the Providence Civic Center and now the AMP. All the things that have to happen in that particular facility in 1 year. All the events that you have, the scheduling, doing all those types of things. So if the town of West Warwick, between its playgrounds, ice rink, field house, Masnicki Field, ball fields, in the fall, there's gonna be a fall Little League tournament. In the spring, there's gonna be a spring Little League tournament. The question about who's got access to particular fields on that particular week, because there might be a conflict with spring football, the same problem they had with the Steelers. So to tell you the truth, it's a 365-day-year job, and you're asking private citizens to take time out of their work to do full-time work, and then it's only a recommendation to the director, who then in turn makes a recommendation to the council. So it's kind of, you can see why people get frustrated.
I can't, I mean, I do it now. I mean, it's a 7-day-a-week job to do it right. I've done it forever. So I mean,
How should I say this? You describe it as being a lot more hands-on than just advisory.
Well, I don't, not hands-on, but community involvement. Unfortunately, as much as I would like to be, I can't be everywhere at once. So, one of the things I think of is when I go to a ball game, and I go to McCarthy a lot at night, and I talk to fans and I talk to residents, and some of them have a lot of nice input. I've been to other parks, they have this, they have that, and your wheels start spinning. Okay. So something like that where a committee member shows up to a game and talks to the people, and it may sound foolish, but you talk to them and you get ideas, and then you bring them back and we discuss them. Because word of mouth sometimes is the best way to do things, obviously. So, and I try to do that a lot when I go to games. I talk to people and I try to get as much information as I can get to, try to bring different things to this community. That's some of the things that I like to see from them. I've said it since day one, I haven't figured out why this town does not host its own tournaments for sports, for softball, baseball, stuff like that. That would be something perfect the committee could come help with. Help put together a tournament where the town is hosting the tournament. Almost every other community that I know of does that. You can bring in a lot of revenue, you bring in a lot of different faces, you bring in a lot of different things. But one person, it's very hard for one person to do all that and coordinate all that. I can coordinate 98% of it, but that other 2%, that's where that committee would come in, helping out with stuff like that, you know, bringing different things to the table.
And ultimately, decisions on big ticketed items regarding the spending of taxpayer dollars and or contracting, that would be for the council to approve.
Absolutely.
You're right. No, and I understand that, but you know, you have a tournament.
Oh, it
That-
starts, your
yeah.
your spring tournament 2 years from now is gonna start last winter in
Right.
2024.
Correct.
Right, so you gotta
There's a
move it-
lot
you
of,
gotta
there's a
move it
lot of
Google, you
work
gotta lose it.
involved in it and, you know, the committee putting stuff out there on the internet and doing everything, like that's where they come in a lot. But again, they have to know what they're here to do. And I don't want to speak out of turn, but they're not here to run the Parks Department. They're here to help advise with different community events. If that makes sense.
Mark, do you have anything to add?
Sure. I think recreational facilities and recreational events
Thank you,
are,
Jeff.
Thanks, Jeff.
are key to developing and strengthening your community. It's the stuff that's visible. It's the stuff where people go. They may not realize it, but that's your community, that's your government functioning. So to top that off, I think in recreation, in this particular case, that there is an ideal reason to have the public input and the feedback and the assistance to get it done. So out of many of the functions that we do, other than the regulatory boards like a zoning and planning and training, I think recreation's important because it touches almost everybody in the community. So if you can get the volunteers to do it, not only the project-based task, but also the community enrichment and all that, I think it's important. So I think the board has a role. I'd like to see it continue. I don't want to kind of rehash everything that's already been said on why there were hurdles in the recent efforts. But to use that advisory board for the items, I've spoken to the director and the councilman, at length about this. If, they're the people in the community. So if they see something that we could do better or is new and exciting, they saw it while they were out and about on vacation. I keep using the example of a splash pad. Then that's something that the board could get together. That's a project that they could start looking into. Maybe our director and assistant director don't have the time to do that initial research, but if there was a board of people that were interested and they parse that out and said, hey, I looked into this community, had a great one. I called them, I looked at their website. This is what it took to get it off the ground. This is what it cost. This is land that we think the town owns that you could pull it off on. Or this is private property that I think the town could consider purchasing as open space to do something. So that's something that would be a grassroots start. Or identifying the fact that, we have 6 tennis courts in town. Tennis isn't that big, and I don't mean to pick on tennis. Pickleball's a new big thing. We should consider converting half of them to pickleball. So what does that take? What does it do? Do you have contacts out and about for leagues? Could we justify it? Is it worth it? Those are too project-based, but even something that we did more recently when we tried to assess our fees. Obviously, we made a significant investment in our recreational facilities over the last couple of years. And we want to set ourselves up for success and able to maintain those things. So we talked about addressing some of the fee structure, not to outprice ourselves for like the in-town recreational leagues, but perhaps looking at, some of the more tournament-based things where fees are involved and travel teams, so we can bring some revenue in that can be specifically dedicated to recreational. So we have a return on our investment and we're maintaining what we did. That's stuff that I think a recreation board could help, look into other communities, see what they're doing. How could we do it? Can we do it better? We don't want to outprice ourselves. We want to be able to support what we're doing. Those are the things that I think would be the value. We talked about, not having micromanaging operations or having fiscal control, but being aware, having a board be aware that, the council is the fiduciary. We have taxpayer money that's involved, but we have, 1721 funds, being aware that what's the amount that's available? What can it be used for? Because that could be part of a recommendation in an advisory role. Or do we need to go out to bond for something? Are there the DEM grants that come out, or whatever else you can come up with? That's what I feel is the purpose. So my suggestion when I spoke to Councilman Licciardi earlier is perhaps, we can, take a relatively brief step back and over the next 6 to 8 weeks, try to meet to put some of those ideas together so we can task whoever the board is, or if we need to get more people or people want to reconsider whatever their personal situation is, and say, these are some of the, this gets us out of the batter's box. Here's some of the ideas we have. I'm sure there's plenty more. We'd like the group to kind of run with them, but have an understanding that since the bylaws have been established, maybe they need to be adjusted. But I think now's the opportunity to look and say, look, I know there was an idea, there was some that wanted more fiscal control, but that's not your role. So we're moving past that now. This is what we'd like you to do. Are you willing to do it? And again, I think the public involvement, if we can get it, is vital. And I'd hate to see it wasted.
I think at the last meeting, we appointed Nick Lanigan to the committee. Do we know who else is on the committee at this point in time?
I could tell you if
No.
I,
No. Okay.
Vin Marzullo
Okay,
is still on the committee,
okay,
along with Nate Hunter,
okay.
so who both have, Vin has a ton of experience
Yep. And
between
Nate's been a coach
sports,
forever.
recreation,
Yeah.
and, every other thing he does. He's into everything.
Yeah.
Which is good. It's good.
So 3 members right now.
That's a 5-member board, correct?
Yes.
So it's a 5-member board.
And
You need
everybody
three,
show up now to have a,
five members, you have need 3 for a quorum.
Yeah.
So there is no chairman, no vice chair. So it would be basically, us, if you want to meet.
That's why I suggested that maybe we take the 6 to 8 weeks. We're getting in, the busy season is just going to get started. We kind of formalize or semi-formalize some path moving forward while recruiting to fill it. And then hopefully hit the ground running during the busy season. Like the director said, maybe people want to show up and walk around and view it. And once they have some ideas on what they're tasked with, when they go to other venues, they can come back with some ideas on how we can better our community and what we offer.
I personally think, and Tim, you're gonna tell me I'm off task, but, with the recreation committee, using the word recreation, I think, and Jeff is named recreation director, but he's also DPW director. So basically, I think we need a full-time recreation director if you want to go to the next level.
That's,
I know it means more money and everything, but that takes a hell of a burden off,
That
yeah,
would-
one person.
We have
doing
workshops
2
starting on the
yeah,
18th.
I was gonna say, that's more appropriate when you start your budget workshops to see whether or not you want to have a full-time, see whether or not the budget can
Okay.
afford it.
So it sounds like you and Jason have had some conversation and we'll try to stir up some enthusiasm for a rec committee and figure out what it's supposed to be?
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
right, school building committee update.
Okay, on February 28th, the school building committee met and approved a request for qualifications, an RFQ for architectural and engineering services. I believe that's been put out and is receiving some submissions or in the process of submitting some submissions. A selection committee, a smaller group of the school building committee was tasked with, when upon receipt, to review those and make a recommendation to the school building committee. The selection's expected to happen in mid-April by that selection, after that selection committee, and then be presented to the school committee and then the town council. We were looking to have a joint meeting in which the project manager would show up to kind of let you know where we are now, which isn't, I don't want to say it's not sexy, but it's, right now, the needs assessment's done. So RIDE has those. We're waiting on their feedback. And the next stage, which is a few months away, is some proposals on how to address those needs. I think that's the more exciting stage. But in the meantime, we were looking to have a joint meeting of the school committee and the town council where the project manager could lay out what his role is, his or her role, Chris Spiegel in this case, and be able to kind of lay out the path publicly, so just so everybody's aware on what it is expected to look like. They were tentatively thinking they were going to change the school committee meeting to accommodate us on a Tuesday on March 12th. However, they weren't able to establish a quorum. So as of this afternoon, the superintendent will be getting back to us with some proposed dates to do a joint meeting to do that.
In that joint meeting, we will encourage people, in all likelihood, it would take place, this first one would take place up in the
High school
media
media center. probably.
center. Encourage people to come and listen to what the project manager has to say. He'd run through the actual submission of stage one application to RIDE, I think was 700 and some odd pages. Talk about what it is, what it looks like, and what the steps are going forward. We're committed to having people involved and understanding what's happening from day one. So we didn't want to get too far down the road without having that type of a meeting.
He's
Like I
gonna
said,
sum that up, right? 700 pages?
Yes.
I think we had a 12-page summary.
Okay, sorry.
But again, the stage two part is the more exciting part when you're talking about what are the actual needs, what's potentially doable, what sites are we rehabbing, are we building new, what do we expected to look for bonds, and that would obviously be a bigger, probably multiple public meetings that we probably utilize the high school, since the school community would, and hopefully parents would be very involved.
Thanks, Mark.
Right, upcoming appointments. Sewer Use Board of Review, appointment to fill a vacancy as an alternate member for a 3-year term. Sewer Use Board of Review, appointment to fill a vacancy as a regular member for a 3-year term. West Warwick Housing Authority, appointment to fill a vacancy for a 5-year term expiring November 2027. Tax Assessment Board of Review, appointment to fill a vacancy for a 3-year term. School Building Committee, architectural, engineering, or construction experience required. Tree Warden must be a licensed arborist, and Recreation Committee, appointment to fill a vacancy for a 3-year term. Public forum.
So I assume that there's more than one vacancy on number 7.
It's 2.
Yes.
Yeah.
Public comment.
Alan Plaza, 5 Robin Lane, and I haven't been up here in a while, but I do have some items for tonight. Good and bad. The first one is I noticed that there are agendas out for, I believe, the 18th and 25th of March for the workshop. I attended the workshops last year, sat here for hours, and was not allowed the opportunity to speak. The public wasn't. And I noticed on these agendas, it's the same format. You have a workshop, and I'm assuming, because no public forum is listed, that the public will not be allowed to address the town council regarding the budget. And I think that's a disservice to the taxpayers of this town who pay the bills. I don't understand why. I've been attending town meetings since I turned 18 and was one of the first ones into the high school. However, I think the public, it's their money, they should be able to afford the opportunity to speak. And I don't know why.
So actually, Alan, the workshops are for department heads to present to the council.
And when is the?
And then
okay.
there are public hearings that follow that. There is a schedule of public hearings. There will be 2 public hearings as
There's
well.
at least 3, right? 3 public hearings?
No,
2
2.
public hearings.
There's 2 public hearings.
I don't recall
That's-
where the
that's been the-
public had the opportunity. If you say
Yeah,
Yes,
every-
that's
it's
since I've been-
happened,
fine.
it's happened
since
every
I
I've
have
been-
no problem
Yeah, so
with that,
the
but-
workshops are a presentation from department heads and the town manager to so that we can ask questions. Then following that up, very soon afterwards, there will be 2 public hearings.
You don't think it would be more efficient to have the public actually comment after the department's heads have presented it? So at least it's there. They provide you the input. Two public hearings, how many people show up at the public hearings? That's a rhetorical question. My experience, zilch. And for the simple reason, because they watch the workshops, they see me coming up here, they watch on TV, on the CCTV, and they throw their hands up like it's, that's not the way public forum should work. That's not the way the public should provide input to the council, but that's only my 2 cents. So I'm just going to leave it at that because you're going to make the decision based upon what you want. I noticed Payne Street was discussed during executive session a while ago. Are we progressing on that? Are we past we'll give the town $50,000 on a $1 million building? That's what it's assessed at. I just wanted to know if we're still in the progress of negotiations. You can't go forward with it, but I just wanted to bring that because that's still on the radar screen, mine anyway.
It continues. You'll notice it's on the agenda again this evening.
Okay. Cohasset Avenue. It's starting to get warm. Is anybody moving forward on getting the roller coaster done? I refuse to ride on that road.
You weren't,
You
all
weren't
right,
here
you
last.
weren't here
Okay,
last meeting.
all right.
Lengthy
So
discussion.
It-
Go ahead.
Yes, it was we're on top of it. I
Okay.
talked to, I mean, well, we got sent a letter from Kent County Water explaining how it's going to happen. Do you want me to rehash the whole
No,
thing?
I don't want,
Okay.
as long as
All right.
you say it.
It's
I
being,
believe that, I
because-
believe
yeah,
that
it's,
letter might have been added to correspondence last time too.
So you can
Yeah,
see.
you can see
I
it.
will look.
Yeah.
You can see the full, there's
And
a
it's
full
actually
letter.
I
a
will
very,
look.
it's a very,
I've
but
been
it's being,
busy.
it's being addressed.
yes.
Okay,
So
And Kent County.
so when
Water is-
August comes, then I can explode the
it's gonna go
nukes if
past
it's not
August.
done.
It's gonna go past August. So,
But if
but
they indeed.
listen,
we-
watch the
well,
meeting.
Yeah.
Watch
you-
the meeting.
Okay, I will go back and watch the meeting. Okay. For the chief, just a point of order, the cupola on Station 3 is in dire need of restoration. I think the last time it was done was when I raised the issue a very long time ago. If you're driving through towards Phoenix, take a look at it. River Point Park Playground, I haven't looked at that in a while. Is that in fact ADA compliant now? I complained about it when we were talking about Factory Street, and I just want to know.
That would be a question for the
Jeff
recreation
and for-
director
yeah.
Okay,
Sure.
after the meeting,
After,
after the meeting.
it's not on the agenda. If you want to put it on the agenda regarding the compliance issues, you can, but you can speak to Mr. Caldwell after the meeting.
excuse me, Mr. Williamson. They don't have to answer the questions. They may if they want. We're not voting on it, so they can address it. I suggest you go back and study the law.
Thank you, Mr. Palazzo.
Thank you. As long as the public knows what we're paying for. Okay. Veterans Square, that appeared on the agenda. And I heard your discussion today. Mr. Oates isn't here. Unfortunately, he's up in Vermont. But he made the comment that he thought that square was named in the 1940s. I remember when we had an 8-member police department back in the 40s. So I was just wondering, just because it isn't up at the State House, that this building wasn't even built back then. I was just wondering, we're doing it. I have no problem with it, but it seems like we're reinventing the wheel. Okay? You can ask Dickie Richer why his diner was named the Veteran Square Diner way back when, before Rye Dot forced them out of business. I'm driving around the town, and I'm not sure who drives around this town more, the police or the firemen. I know DPW is out there doing things, but I would make a suggestion, and the chief is probably going to get upset with me, that as his officers are driving through the town, perhaps they could have a form or a note, or even do it on their computers and provide input to the DPW department. They're fantastic going out there and trying to fix potholes and issues. But a long time ago, I learned if you don't know about it, you can't fix it. And from my perspective, the police probably have more miles on their tires in this town than anyone. And it doesn't take long if you're driving along to just note, hey, there's a pothole or there's something broken at such and such a position. And then it can get, either go back to the station or go directly to DPW and it can be accounted for. Just a suggestion for efficiency. I don't know how they feel if they want to talk about, but that's item for later. And the last thing is Parks and Recreation. I grew up in this town, okay? Every community had a playground. Natick, Payne Street, Crompton, everybody, Arctic Hill. They had playgrounds, they had basketball courts. During the summer, students from the schools were hired in supervisory positions. So the kids could play knock hockey. They could do all kinds of things, baseball pickup games. That was recreation in West Warwick. 3 or 4 times a week, a bus would take the kids to Mishnock or Tyoke, and they could go swimming. I'm not sure of why that was totally phased out. However, it's something that I think the town should reconsider during the summer months. Instead of having the day camps at the schools, why not recreation where they can go outside and do things? Now, funding, I understand. I'm going to be up at the State House a lot in the near future. And that's why I've been backing off from here. However, I hear things, oh, there's no money in the budget. We're facing a fiscal cliff. And yesterday I made the comment, we're facing a fiscal cliff, but there'll be a bond issue for $100 million to build a state archive. But worse, there are bonds that's going to be backed by you people for $132 million to build a private stadium. Quick math, that's almost $4 million for every community in the state. And if they can back that, why can't they provide funds to you? That's your job to fight. I will be up there making more noise than you can possibly imagine. However, on a different issue. However, that's what needs to be brought back to the fools on the hill. That's what I call them, with a few exceptions. There are too many people who don't understand what this state was like when people would go to the beaches. They were wide open. The taxpayers weren't charged to go to the beaches because that was their right under the Rhode Island Constitution, access to the beaches. And things have changed. So, you have to go in and pick up your own, bring your own bags to pick up your own garbage. That never occurred before. I don't know what happened to this state, but it's not the state I grew up in. This is not the town I grew up in. And I'm not throwing darts at you, but I think it's, think outside the box. Let's go back to the old days. And I'll leave it at that.
And congratulations on your victory, Alan.
Say again?
Congratulations on your victory.
They don't know what, I've already started asking questions, and you guys are very lucky because you will have mushroom clouds up on Smith Hill by the time I finish. Because the old guard, we beat them 2-1, and we're sending shockwaves out there.
Quickly, I just want to mention, but we don't,
Okay.
oh, sorry.
Yes, I'm
Well,
sorry.
before the next meeting, it's St. Patrick's Day is coming up before the next meeting. So
Yes.
just want to remind everybody, the parade is coming up on St. Patrick's Day this year. Starts at 1 PM,
I believe so.
but the roads get closed off at probably like noon, an hour or so before, right? Roughly.
No parking signs will be up, and they let it run as long as they can control the parking, but
Basically, everybody, most of the people that are here, but maybe we have some new people in the community that are watching, starts down at Ionati's right on the West Warwick line, comes right down to Town Hall. It's a great day for everybody to come on out.
It's a fun day.
Hopefully we get some good weather for it.
Yeah.
We talked a lot about recreation tonight. It's kind of overwhelming the meeting, but just to remind everyone, as I said last meeting, the Easter egg hunt is going to be at Quinn, 9:30 a.m. sharp on Saturday, March 30th, rain or shine.
It is a rain or shine. Yes?
It has to be. Next day's Easter.
You're right. Post
rain or
Easter,
shine.
Yeah.
Yeah, it stinks inside, but it'll work.
Council Vice President, before anyone makes a motion, I just wanted to give you a heads up there. I don't have any updates for executive session that are new from last week.
Okay.
We anticipate having feedback. I asked for it before the 18th, so
You said that in your weekly,
just in
yeah,
case.
before we do that. So is there any other public comment?
Anybody online?
No one has their hands raised.
I think maybe we do want to go briefly, just very briefly into executive session if we could. It will be very brief and we will get people out of here, okay? Before the rain starts in earnest, all right?
The basketball game starts.
Before that
Oh, yeah,
too,
and good
yes.
luck to the West Warwick boys travel team. They're
Thank you
playing
all.
for the division championship tonight, and the girls, are playing. Somebody said the girls are
No,
playing.
the Coventry. Oh.
Oh, sorry, you were talking about
Yeah,
Coventry.
yeah.
So bad, so, well, still good luck to them too.
Thank you very much.
Playing in West,
Oh, so no, not good luck to them. Are they playing West Warwick?
no.
All right, good luck to them.
Yeah.
We go town, then county, then we just.
Someone
keep
want to
it.
make an official motion,
Yes.
move it exec, and then all.
Motion to move into executive session.
Second.
Motion in a
motion.
second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Sarah, do you need